I don't know about you, but it's getting harder and harder to find awesome video games for low prices. So, myself and Brasel the Gamer have compiled a top 10 list of games that you can get for a pretty decent price. And still, these are games that really aren't getting talked about that often. So let's go ahead and start off with my top 5. And then after you watch this video, go to his channel and check out his video for some more hidden gems. This isn't in any particular order, but it is a top 5. So here we go. Let's get started with
Number 5.
Todd McFarlane's Spawn the video game.
Todd McFarlane is the creator of the Spawn comic book series, known for its gritty, tough, very un-superhero world. So, why not make a video game about it? Developed by Yuki Yotei, a company founded by an ex-Capcom employee named Kenshi Naruse, Spawn was released towards the end of the Super Nintendo's life cycle in 1995. While it is the first Spawn video game ever made, it doesn't get too convoluted with an origins plot. But if you don't know who he is, his name is Al Simmons, a man who was murdered by one of his fellow government agents and sent to hell. Longing to return to his wife, he makes a deal with the Lord of Darkness himself, Malebolgia, to become an undead anti-hero, Spawn. The game's story revolves around 13 children kidnapped by a being called the Mad One, who longs to use their souls in something called the Orb of Purity in an attempt to destroy Malebolgia. And of course, one of the girls is also coincidentally Spawn's stepdaughter. The game is at heart a beat-em-up, and yes, it's got an elevator level, though it also contains platforming aspects to it. Spawn has plenty of attacks to choose from, and the game has an almost Street Fighter vibe at times with a light and heavy punch. The game is one of the hardest beat-em-ups I've ever played, with tons of cheap deaths waiting in the shadows thanks to overpowered boss attacks. There's a standard health meter that can be refilled at the end of each boss fight, and though the game has practically unlimited continues, if the numbered bar towards the right goes down to 0, it's game over. Thankfully, with a password system, and with 17 levels, this game has plenty of lasting power in your Super NES. I'd compare it to the LJN Spider-Man games like Maximum Carnage. Approximate price range between $6 and $15. Number 4.
HyperZone.
As a launch title for the Super Nintendo back in 1991, this was the game that was overshadowed by other games like Super Mario World, Pilot Wings, and F-Zero. Speaking of F-Zero, this game is a cross between that and Star Fox, as it's a rail shooter racing game. Developed by HAL Laboratories, yes, that HAL Laboratories, the game harkens back to simpler days with no major story, just tight gameplay. The title is score-based, with only 8 levels, but each one is jam-packed with an intense amount of Mode 7 graphics that shows off the capabilities of the Super NES quite nicely. Use your ship to shoot down everything that appears before you. Enemies aren't exactly memorable, but the tracks certainly are. You can refill your health meter by crossing the green pathways, but make sure to stay on the road as it will drain your health. This is a colorful game with an equally colorful soundtrack thanks to longtime HAL veteran and Kirby series soundtrack provider Jun Ishikawa. I suggest picking this up if you're looking for something that's fast-paced like F-Zero, but simplistic like Galaga. Approximate price range between $5 and $10. Number 3.
Phantom 2040.
Released for the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and the Sega Game Gear back in 1995, this game is developed by Hearst Entertainment, and it was based on the Phantom 2040 cartoon that reinvigorated the Phantom comic book series into something futuristic and special. The character designs were done by Peter Chung of MTV's cult hit show, Aeon Flux. While the game is based on the animated series of Phantom 2040, it's not required to know every nook and cranny of the show's surprisingly grown-up plot twists and storyline. In fact, the game even gives the option to keep the story minimal instead of big cutscenes. Unfortunately, PAL gamers only get the brief story option without the cutscenes. The gist of the story here is that you play as Kit Walker Jr., who learns of his fate to be the Phantom, a mysterious superhero entity that is passed on from father to son. The Phantom's mission, to keep it simple, is to stop Rebecca Madison and a character named Sean One from destroying Metropia and resurrecting Rebecca's father. What's interesting is that this action game has a map that requires the Phantom to travel to various locations when they're opened up, but many of the locations can be revisited when you gain certain power-ups, similar to Super Metroid. The controls are very tight, and you can use tons of different weapons and items to your benefit. There's a grappling hook that allows you to reach hidden items, and the graphics are gorgeous with bold-looking sprites all complemented by Chung's designs. Phantom 2040 is visually a captivating captivating game. Plus, it's rumored to have 20 different endings. Though this was also released on Sega machines, I think that the graphics and music are a bit tighter here on the Super NES, with music sounding less electronically busy and more guitar focused. Despite the fact that it's not an exclusive title, this is definitely a must-own. Approximate price range between $5 to $15. Number 2.
Harley's Humongous Adventure.
Also known as Kagakushika Harley no Haran Banju in Japan, this 1993 released game was developed by Visual Concepts. They were best known for their work on the Take-Two sports games, oh, and Lester the Unlikely, ugh. But don't let that persuade you otherwise, because Harley's Humongous Adventure is a fantastic, underrated platformer that has vibrant graphics, tight controls, and just an overall fun vibe. You play as Harley, a scientist who has shrunken himself down, and, well, can't get back to regular size. You go through each of the levels traveling these giant worlds, trying to hunt down the parts to your broken shrinking machine so you can get back to normal size. Along the way, you'll collect tons of different weapons like marbles and nails. There's a rocket pack boost that will get you to higher places, along with invulnerability power-ups too. If you die, you can continue from these pot lids as long as you've pressed down on the handles. The sound effects are crisp and the music is fun, with tight bass grooves and flashy synths that keep you engaged as you traverse playrooms, kitchens, and more. It's a relatively short game, but it will give you the tight platforming challenge you've been looking for on the Super NES. If you played Chippendale's Rescue Rangers or Little Nemo the Dream Master, and you like those games, you'll feel right at home here. Approximate price range between $3 to $12. Number 1.
And the finale. Jim Power and the Lost Dimension in 3D.
Oh, the crime that is passing up Jim Power and the Lost Dimension in 3D on the Super NES. Definitely my favorite on this list, and one that I hope to review in full one day. This game is a must-own. Based on the Amiga game called Jim Power in Mutant Planet, Lost Dimension is the complete package for hidden gem owners. You play as Jim, and really, that's all you need to know. You're in a world that initially looks like a more colorful version of the Super Ghouls and Ghost map, but once you get moving, the graphics are intense. See, unlike standard parallax scrolling, these layers only move when Jim does, which can provide a very dizzying effect on the mind. What's even crazier is that this game came with special 3D glasses that were meant to make the game's visuals pop out even more than usual. Enemies are all pretty weird, with pink dogs, flying fish monsters, Trojan warriors, and more. The game is full of variety, part platformer, part shoot 'em up, and part top-down Contra 3 style levels. The game does a wonderful job of keeping things unique and perspectives fresh. Oh, and did I mention that the music is done by Mr. Chris Hulsbeck of Turrican fame? These are some of the best tunes on the Super NES. If you're looking for a brutal challenge, Jim Power's gonna bring the pain. Think Contra 3 meets Ninja Gaiden level difficulty, and you'll be right at home. Not meant for the weak-hearted. Pregnant women and small children strongly discouraged from participating. Void in Utah. Wait, what? Approximate price range between $5 to $10.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this top 10, or really rather half of it. So now go over to Brasel the Gamer's channel and check it out. The link is going to be, I don't know, right there.
Hey guys, I'm Brasel the Gamer. Thanks for checking out Miketendo's video. Now hop on over to my channel and watch the second half of the 10 affordable SNES hidden gems. Thanks for watching.